Good morning, everyone. Before I get into this morning's update, I would like to go over a quick overview of what is transpiring so far this morning. Yesterday, we had a big discussion in the live where we talked about the Bitcoin liquidation levels and the heat map and how starting at right around 99,980 and then getting up to 100,000, 101,000, 102, 103, 104, up to about 105. There's a ton of liquidity here where short traders were going to get hammered. And to the tune of about $4 to $6 billion yesterday so far. Probably more. I think it's like $7. About $7 billion got liquidated in a $2,500 range in Bitcoin. So yesterday, a big talking point that we had was we found it hard to believe, or at least I find it hard to believe, or found it hard to believe, that Bitcoin wouldn't come up to at least liquidate those shorts if it was coming down farther. So the technical setup, and in the live we simply talk about how XRP panic grows, but unfounded rally not over. Bitcoin 106K is next, and that was when it was at just topping 99K. And now at least we see that we're on that trajectory. Bitcoin and Ethereum have both printed money for me the last few days. I very rarely am in a position of Bitcoin or Ethereum. I stick with the leverage trading when I do that, but they've both printed money the last 2 days, and it's been a spectacular thing as XRP went down to $2.22 for a second time, which is very critical. And we came to 222 that second time, but that's not the only thing we did. I put a chart up here that shows this uptrend that started on November 28th roughly. Oh, sorry, November 30th. We had this uptrend, and it created like somewhat of a pennant flag here. And if I just fill this out, I don't know where this arrow went, but this is how we had it before it broke out here. But we had that little setup. We started an uptrend there. We managed to hold this uptrend when we came down to $2.17. The uptrend was about $2.13. Now we've bounced back up within an area where that could be a triple bottom, but time will tell. Right now it was a great sign it popped up. We could be creating like this inverse pattern here, possibly a small inverse head and shoulders, very small time frame. But we're trying to get over that $2.54 for XRP, 255 to break out of this consolidation. But we're having trouble right now. We've just been in this consolidation here, which you want to have pullbacks. That 22% pullback from 292, and it was actually a little bit farther, I think, than 22% now. We went from 292, and now we've had a 25.5% correction here. It's what you need. 1 quarter. XRP corrected by 1 quarter of its entirety of its price. Now, if you bought in at 34 cents, you're not phased. If you bought in at 250, 270, 290 because of FOMO, you're definitely phased right now. So ask yourself one question before you buy in today, or before you ever buy in after a big pump. Why am I buying today what I wouldn't buy when it was 400% cheaper? Am I only buying today because of the fear of missing out? If that's your only reason for buying, you're probably in over your head. Because a correction like this from $2.90, that's a 25% loss. For somebody who's been in it since 35 cents, they're looking at it as a beautiful consolidation and a retracement so that possibly in the very short term we can push up to higher levels. We know the technical target out of the descending wedge for XRP is $5.46. The short target out of the descending wedge from the midway point was $2.22. We've already satisfied the descending wedge at the 50% level at 222 when you measure the 2021 high and low. Now we have to go back to 2018, the swing high to the swing low in March of 2020. That's a much higher target, and we've had both targets out here for some time. It's just you have to universally go through the levels. Now, as long as we hold $2.22, we may have put a line in the sand here. We bounced back by better than 23 cents right now from the bottom yesterday. That's nothing to be ashamed about. That's nothing to be saddened by. We've had a lot of cryptocurrencies. AMP last night dumped by 15%. And as you know, when it went up 65%, I dumped down to 100,000 tokens from 400,000. Well, when it made that dump down yesterday at 9.5, I bought back almost all of the tokens I dumped. And, you know, now currently it's almost 400,000 tokens again I'm riding with in it. We're going to see if this holds and continues to play out. if this created some kind of inversion here, because it looks like some kind of little inverse pattern could be formed. But reversal pattern starting this morning, the most dangerous times in the morning are these early candles. So I don't know what I'm going to do here today. I'm just watching this market unfold, but in the smaller time frames, this could be setting up for a nice inverse flip here. So we'll see. We'll see if AMP and the rest of the market wants to get a little volatile here. It could be very interesting. A big thing I talked about yesterday was XMR. Talked about XMR in the live. Talked about it, that it looked like it was getting ready to possibly push out. It was at $189. It pushed up overnight to 214, and now it's sitting at 205, 206. So at least from there, we had about an 11% movement on there. I thought that was an opportunity, something that was a little bit undervalued yesterday. And fortunately for anybody who, if you were watching it or if you actually bought into it, you're up about 11 to 12% today from that buy. So I'm very happy about that. AMP's reversed for me from that 097 level all the way up to the 108 so far. So it's been a good morning from a perspective on AMP, but now I want to see if it has the continuation. So we'll see what happens there. Ethereum's up over 3,900. We've been talking about Ethereum forever, it feels like, about how it was finally starting to break out of this bullish consolidation. It's one of the ones that was far behind in regards to its pattern. And right now we should get a back test if it plays it the traditional way. Ethereum, with the way it bounced out, it already bounced out, back tested, bounced out. The only thing left now is that first area at 4,023 was that short target. But it is possible we back test from a more profound manner, that 3,836. But I don't know, because it bounced out of there. And we'll see. Bitcoin's over 103,000. But I got to do the intro. I can't believe I went 7 minutes without an intro. It's just I had a lot of information to go through, and I know I got to get my son to school. We got like 3 inches of snow overnight. It's still snowing a little bit, so it's going to be a tricky ride today. Roads have snow on them, so I got to get outside a little earlier today. So good morning. 8:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Thursday, December 5th, 2024. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So the whole market, after a big consolidation yesterday, the overall feeling I had was we're not done yet. We're not done yet. And every dip like that is good. It really, really is, because it clears out a lot of built up buyers, and it starts to throw down some of the ones who might be the weak hands or somebody who might have bought in on an overzealous run up, and now they get out, and then they start seeing the market reverse back up. Like XRP, imagine, I had somebody yesterday, I talked about it in the live, who talked about how they sold at $2.34, I believe it was, $2.32. And then they were very excited because they watched the market go down, and then it went down to $2.15. So on 10,000 shares, they could have saved themselves about $2,500. Now, in order to save that, you would have to buy it back in if it's going to go back up, if you're willing to ride it even more, or if you were expecting to ride it even more to begin with. Now, all of a sudden, it went from $2.15 to $2.38. So now if you buy back, now even though you sold out and it went down and you would have made $2,500 on a rebuy, now just by waiting 6-7 hours, it went from $2.15 to $2.38. Now you're underwater by about $400. So like, it's so hard to buy these on these big candle tops or these big pumps, and it's equally hard to try to sell it and rebuy it back in with how volatile it is. With what Bitcoin did, it came through the heat signature. There were so many liquidity levels. That's why I put the long in at 96,000. And I was very transparent. There were so many longs there, or shorts that were going to be liquidated once we got to 99.7 and all the way up to about 105, 106. But there was a massive liquidity pool at 99.7 all the way up to like 102 that we've already taken out. And the fact that once we took it out, we came down to 99,700, and now we find ourselves back up at 103, that's a beautiful sign this morning. Bitcoin looked like it was on a massive inverse head and shoulders as well. And our technical target was 106,000. And we talked about this for the better part of 2 weeks, I feel like. This pattern started the channel rise on the 24th. A lot of people thought that was an ascending wedge, and I disagreed. I thought it was a bait. I thought this was just an upward consolidation. And this wedge, even if it was, it wasn't going to be the variable because it had to come up here to hit this channel again. Once it didn't break down here, and then it created the inverse right arm here, we suspected we were going to have a volatile push way up here. My initial target was 104, and then 106.341 was the measure out from the breakout point. So I'm very happy with how that's transpired. There's been money to be made in different sectors of this market. That's why yesterday I distinctly pointed at, after AMP was up 65% the day before yesterday, I came on very late on Tuesday night and said, hey, I'm selling my AMP except for my 100,000 again, now that it's up, and it was up 63% when I was doing the update when I sold it. And then I rebought it back in at 9.5 or 9.4 on routine, just like I always do. It seems to be the same thing with AMP. It has these big pushes, consolidates back down, revs up, gets ready for its next layer. AMP doesn't look like in the grand scheme it's done, but I would suspect, you know, like every single day I say, we'll have volatility in the morning, but maybe altcoins now today can have their own little run here today. But I'm XRP Future Millionaire. I got to get going. Got to get my son to school. If you're watching, and like I said, it snowed last night, so we got an interesting venture this morning. But if you're watching, with XRP, we're looking to hold this uptrend at worst. Maybe back test 220 again if it has to come down here. But we don't want to lose 216. And sooner rather than later, we would like to break up past 252 and start pushing these upper boundaries again. So that's what I got this morning. Everything looks okay. It's just we're very volatile with what's going on with Bitcoin this morning. So just pay attention. Altcoins could very well catch up. We've had some that have moved like H-bars back around 30 cents. You know, we've got watch AMP. See if this did create any kind of inverse pattern or if it's just going to come right back through, because it is possible that AMP just comes right back through. 4 hourly could be a reversal candle here, so it's going to be a little dangerous here probably in the morning to the go. You know, at least when everybody's waking up because they're seeing some little push-ups. But just be very cautious and be very visual on what's going on this morning. So, and then in my video description below or my pinned comments or on my homepage, you can find ways to trade XRP on different exchanges. You'll just have to make an educated, informed decision. But I'm going to go. I want to get this taken care of. And if you're betting in this market today, make sure you're betting what you can lose because it's volatile. Bitcoin being where it's at is the key right now. If Bitcoin can get over this channel resistance, our next layer is going to be about 106. But I do expect some volatility out of altcoins that have been struggling here the past few weeks. I do. I expect some kind of volatility to start here. And we'll see if we get the continuation today. We had a nice pullback yesterday and the day before, so it is a ripened condition here for possibility of push out with some of these alts. So let's pay attention, be visual, but don't overstep. Remember, we've already had huge moves up. Don't overstep. Do what you can and be aware.